Alhamdulillah, if you'd like, I can. My dear brothers and sisters, among the most profound qualities a believer can possess is Sabr, patience. It is not merely a passive endurance of difficulty, but a powerful, active form of worship. It is a condition of the heart that reflects deep trust in Allah's wisdom and timing. Patience is not weakness, it is strength. It is the ability to remain calm when the storm rages, to hold your tongue when anger beckons, and to keep your heart from despair when life becomes overwhelming. It is easy to say, I trust Allah, when things are easy, but true Sabr is when your world is falling apart, and yet you whisper, Alhamdulillah. Allah mentions Sabr over 90 times in the Qur'an. He ties it to guidance, mercy, divine love, and victory. He says, indeed, Allah is with the patient. Surah Al-Baqarah 2, 153. Pause for a moment and reflect on that. Allah is with them. What more could a believer want than the companionship of the most merciful? When Allah is with you, even the heaviest trial becomes bearable. The mountain on your back begins to feel like a feather because your heart knows who is carrying it with you. Patience is not just for the big calamities in life. It's also in the small moments, when someone wrongs you and you could respond harshly, but you choose silence. When your du'a hasn't been answered for months, and yet you still raise your hands with hope. When you're being tested repeatedly, and yet you choose not to complain about Allah, but to complain to Him, that is Sabr. The Prophet once said, no one is given a gift better and more comprehensive than patience. Bukhari and Muslim, this tells us that Sabr is not just another virtue. It is a gift, and when you are given this gift, you've been given something that unlocks many other blessings: peace of mind, inner strength, emotional stability, and divine support. The scholars divide patience into 3 types. Patience in obedience to Allah, being consistent in prayer, fasting, and staying on the straight path even when it's hard. Patience in refraining from sin, fighting the temptation to fall into haram, especially when no one is watching except Allah. Patience during calamity, the strength to hold firm when tests hit you unexpectedly, whether through loss, illness, heartbreak, or hardship. Each of these requires a different type of inner strength. Sometimes it's easier to pray than to restrain your tongue from gossip. Other times, it's easier to avoid sin than to handle a major trial. But all forms of patience are beloved to Allah, and He knows your struggle better than anyone else. And know this, patience is not numbness. It doesn't mean you don't feel sadness. Even Jacob cried until he lost his sight over the loss of his son, but he still said, so beautiful patience is most fitting, and Allah is the only one whose help can be sought. Surah Asaf 12, 18. Tears are not the opposite of Sabr. Complaining to Allah is not impatience. You are allowed to grieve, you are allowed to cry, but you do so while knowing that your Rabb sees, your Rabb hears, and your Rabb will never waste the pain you are enduring. Every sleepless night, every anxious breath, every silent prayer, all of it is counted by the one who promises, verily, the patient will be given their reward without measure. Surah Az-Zumar 39, 10. Without measure. No scale, no limit, and this is where patience becomes more than just endurance. It becomes a path to Jannah, a lifestyle, a lens through which we see every trial not as punishment, but as a stepping stone towards something greater. My beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, there is a reality that gives comfort to the grieving, strength to the weary, and hope to the heart that feels forgotten, and that reality is this: Allah knows. He knows what you're going through even when no one else does. He sees the struggle you hide behind your smile. He hears the cries you muffle with your pillow. He knows the fear you carry silently, the heartbreak you mask with laughter, and the disappointment you don't even have words for. Indeed, your Lord is all-seeing. Surah Al-Fajr 89, 14. This is not just a statement of His attribute, it is a declaration of His closeness. Allah is not distant. He is not unaware. He is not too busy. He is not silent because He forgot you. No, He is watching not like the watchful gaze of judgmental people, but with the loving, merciful, and intimate awareness of the one who created your heart and knows every crack within it. When you are too tired to explain your pain to people, remind yourself, You don't have to, because Allah already knows. He knows what is present before them and what will be after them. Surah Al-Ha 20, 110. Before your pain entered your life, He already knew. He wrote it into your story, not to break you, but to build you, not to crush your soul, but to bring you closer to Him. He is Al-Alim, the all-knowing, and His knowledge is not abstract or removed. It is personal, detailed, perfect. You see, people notice your success, but Allah notices your sincerity. People react to your words, but Allah sees your intentions. People count your visible tears, but Allah counts even the ones that never fell. Even the tears that dried before they could escape your eyes are known by Him. And there is nothing hidden in the heaven or the earth, but it is in a clear book. Surah An-Naml 27, 75. Nothing is hidden from Him. Not your loneliness, not your heartbreak, not the nights you spent praying for something that still hasn't come. He sees the way you lower your gaze out of modesty. He hears your heart tremble in prayer, even when your lips can't find the right words. Even when your dua is just, "Oh Allah, you know, you are not invisible, you are not forgotten, you are not unheard." When Hajar, the wife of Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam, was alone in the desert with a crying baby and no one in sight, she called out in desperation, and that call echoed through history. It was answered not just with water from Zamzam, but with generations of mercy. Her cry wasn't lost in the wind. Allah heard it, and He hears yours too, and your Lord says, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." Surah Ghafir 40, 60. This is the promise of the one who never breaks his word. Your voice may tremble, your heart may stutter, but your cries never bounce off the ceiling. They rise, they ascend, and they reach the one who is closer to you than your jugular vein. Even when you're surrounded by people, you can still feel alone. But when you truly know Allah, even in solitude, you'll feel embraced. Let your heart find peace in His nearness. When you whisper in Sajd, know that He hears you more clearly than anyone ever could. When you're overwhelmed by what you carry, remember you are speaking to the one who knows the burden even before you try to describe it. His awareness of you is not just full, it is merciful. He sees with mercy. He hears with mercy. He responds with mercy. Dear brothers and sisters, when we speak of pain, loss, heartbreak, and unanswered prayers, we must never forget that those who were closest to Allah endured the greatest trials. Not because He abandoned them, but because He chose to refine, elevate, and honor them. If you are facing hardship today, take comfort in knowing that you walk a path once walked by the greatest human beings to ever live, the prophets of Allah. They were not just messengers, they were examples. Their stories are not distant history, they are divine mirrors, placed in the Qur'an to reflect your own pain, your own tests, your own journey. And through their stories, we are reminded that hardship does not mean rejection. In fact, it often means selection. Indeed, we tested those before them, and Allah will surely make evident those who are truthful. Surah Al-Ankabut 29, 3. Let us begin with An alayhis salam, the Prophet who preached for 950 years. Imagine calling people day and night, publicly and privately, patiently pleading with them to return to their Creator and still being rejected by nearly everyone, even his own family. His pain was not just personal, it was generational. Yet he remained steadfast. His dua was filled with dignity. His heart remained focused on Allah, not on the outcome. He didn't quit because he knew his duty was to act with sincerity, not to count results. Then we look to Ibrahim alayhi salam, the beloved of Allah. He was thrown into fire, abandoned by his people, and later commanded to sacrifice his own son, a son he had waited for his entire life. Yet his heart didn't waver. His trust didn't shake. He submitted, not because it was easy, but because his love for Allah was greater than the pain of the test. And Allah replaced his hardship with miracles, made his name eternal, and made his footsteps part of every Hajj journey. And what about Asaf alayhi salam, betrayed by his brothers, abandoned in a well, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison all while he was innocent, one hardship after another, year after year. Yet never once do we find him bitter, Never once does he speak ill of Allah. Instead, in the depths of a prison cell, he says, "Indeed, I have left the religion of a people who do not believe in Allah." Surah Asaf 12:37, his dawah continued. His hope endured, his faith grew stronger, and in the end, Allah not only cleared his name, but reunited him with his family, raised him to authority, and gifted him with wisdom and forgiveness. The boy who was left in a well became the man who pulled others out of darkness. Then comes the story of Ayub alayhis salam, perhaps the most vivid image of patient suffering. He was afflicted with devastating illness, loss of wealth, the death of his children, and yet he did not complain. His du'a is recorded in the Qur'an not as a long lament, but a humble whisper. Indeed, adversity has touched me, and you are the most merciful of those who show mercy. Surah Al-Anbiya 21:83, no blame. No accusation, just quiet surrender, and Allah loved that. He restored Ayub's health, his family, and his dignity not because Ayub demanded relief, but because he trusted that relief would come when the time was right. And finally we arrive at the most beloved of all creation, Muhammad, who bore pain upon pain, orphaned as a child, buried his own children, driven out of his homeland, laughed at, beaten, slandered, starved for years, and worst of all, he watched his people turn away from the message he loved more than life. And yet, he still made du'a for his enemies. He still smiled. He still walked to the cave, to the mountain, to the people, hoping that even one soul might say La ilaha illa Allah. His life was filled with sorrow, but never despair, because his eyes were fixed not on the earth but on the heavens, on the hereafter, on the face of his Lord. The prophets were the most beloved to Allah, and they were also the most tested. This is no coincidence. It's a divine pattern. Allah tests those he loves, not to harm them, but to bring them closer to him. Their stories are not tragedies. They are blueprints. They are maps for the broken-hearted and the struggling. So when you cry at night, when you feel alone, when your path seems long and heavy, remember, you are walking behind the prophets. You are not lost. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. My dear brothers and sisters, there is something profoundly beautiful, almost sacred, about the moment when a person raises their hands and speaks privately to their Creator. No one else hears it, no one else sees it, but the heavens respond. When you make du'a, it is not a sound that fades into silence, it is a transaction with the most generous, a conversation with the one who never forgets, never ignores, and never fails to respond. Allah says, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." Surah Ghafir 40:60. This is not just a hopeful encouragement, it is a divine promise. I will respond, and not might, not perhaps, but I will. And when Allah promises, he never breaks it. But the response comes in ways we must learn to recognize, and in timings we must learn to trust. Sometimes the answer is immediate. You raise your hands and within moments or days you see a door open, a difficulty ease, a blessing arrive. Your heart fills with awe, Subhanallah, he heard me. Other times the answer comes in delay, not because Allah is ignoring you, but because he is preparing something better for you. You may ask for something today, and he withholds it for a year, or 5, or until you're ready. Because he knows that what you desire may harm you if it arrives too early, or that your du'a is not just for this world, but has been recorded to bring you immense reward in the next. And sometimes the answer comes in a different form altogether. You ask for wealth, and instead he gives you contentment. You ask for marriage, and he gives you peace in solitude. You ask for a job, and he gives you patience, resilience, and skills that shape your future. You think your du'a was denied, but Allah simply rewrote the answer in a way your soul needed more than your tongue understood. Perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and Allah knows while you know not. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. Think of Zakaria alayhis salam, a righteous prophet of Allah, whose beard had turned grey and whose bones were weak, yet he continued making du'a for a child. He could have stopped. People could have mocked him, but he knew, my Lord has never disappointed me in my supplication. Surah Maryam 19:4. And Allah gave him Yahya, not just any son, but a noble prophet. Or recall Musa alayhis Salam, standing at the shore with Pharaoh's army approaching, people panicking around him, he says with full trust, "Indeed, my Lord is with me, he will guide me." Surah Ash-Shu'ara 26, 62. The ocean didn't split before the Du'a. It didn't even split when he made Du'a. It split when he acted with trust in Allah and struck the sea with his staff, then the miracle unfolded. And what about the mother of Maryam, the woman who said, "O my Lord, I dedicate what is in my womb to your service"? Surah Al-Imran 3:35. She asked for a boy, but Allah gave her a girl, Maryam, who would go on to carry the greatest miracle of all, Isa alayhis salam, born without a father. Her dua was not rejected, it was upgraded in a way she could not imagine. The lesson: every dua is heard, but it is not just heard, it is treasured, recorded and answered in the best way, at the best time, sometimes in this life, sometimes in the next, sometimes in forms we immediately recognize, and sometimes in ways we only understand years later, or not at all, until we stand before Allah and see the mountains of reward waiting for the patient. The Prophet told us that when a person sees the reward of unanswered du'as on the Day of Judgment, they will wish that none of their prayers had been answered in this world, because what Allah saved for them was so much better than what they were asking for. Your Lord is shy and generous. If his servant raises his hands to him, he is shy to return them empty. Termid, he's shy to return them empty. Imagine that. The Creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who needs nothing from us, feels shy out of his love and generosity to turn you away when you call upon him. So even when you don't see the answer, keep calling. Even when your heart feels numb, keep whispering. Even if you've said the same dua for years, say it again tonight with even more conviction. Because the doors of the heavens are always open, and your voice is known to the Lord of mercy. Beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most difficult realities we face as believers is waiting. Waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for healing, waiting for a spouse, waiting for the pain to ease. Waiting for a door to open that feels like it should have opened long ago. And in that waiting, questions arise in the heart. Why hasn't my dua been answered? Why hasn't my situation changed? Am I being ignored? But what we often fail to see in that moment is that the delay itself may be one of Allah's greatest mercies. Allah is not punishing you when you wait. He is not neglecting you. In fact, He is shaping you. The waiting period is not wasted time, it is sacred time. Time in which your character is being molded. Your faith is being tested and strengthened, and your heart is being trained to attach to Him alone. You see, we live in a world of urgency. We want results now. We want closure now. We want solutions instantly. But Allah's timeline is not based on our emotions. It is based on divine wisdom, and that wisdom sees what we cannot. It sees the future we don't know. It sees the things we think we're ready for, but we're not. But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and Allah knows while you know not. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. That verse is not theoretical. It's real. There are people who begged for a certain job, and when they didn't get it, they felt crushed. Later, they discovered it would have destroyed their peace. Some prayed to marry someone who seemed perfect, only to discover, after being turned away, that the person was not who they appeared to be. Some begged for success in a specific path, only to find that Allah closed that door not because they weren't worthy, but because a better door was being prepared down the line. You must remember, a closed door is not a rejection from Allah, it might be a redirection. A delay is not a denial, it is a form of divine protection. Sometimes we want things that are not haram. They're not wrong, they're just not right for us yet. We think we're ready, but Allah sees the cracks in our foundation. And out of love, He says, not yet, and not no, but not yet. Because if He gave it to you now, it might come before you're spiritually, emotionally, or mentally equipped to handle it. Look at the story of Asaf alayhis salam. Years in prison unjustly, he could have cried out in frustration, "Oh Allah, I was innocent, yet you allowed this." But that prison was not a prison, it was a place of preparation. It was where his wisdom grew, where his leadership matured, where his faith was solidified. And when the time was right, not too early, not too late, he was released and raised to power. Had he come out a year earlier, the timing wouldn't have aligned. Allah was preparing both him and the situation for the perfect moment. And then there's Messiah alayhi salam, who fled Egypt as a fugitive. He spent years in Madian, far from where he thought he would be. That wasn't a detour, it was the path. During that time he became a shepherd, learned patience, started a family, until one day, on his way back, he saw the burning bush and was spoken to directly by Allah. The delay wasn't wasted, it was filled with growth. The Prophet Muhammad made du'a for guidance, protection and victory, but look at the timing. 13 years in Makkah, facing rejection and persecution. The Muslims were tortured, some were martyred. Yet the command to fight back came only in Medina, after they had built discipline, unity and structure. Allah's plan was not just about relief, it was about transformation. So if you're waiting right now, waiting for Allah to fix something, to answer something, to bring something, don't allow Shaytan to whisper that you're forgotten. You are not forgotten, you are being refined. Indeed, Allah does not wrong the people at all, but it is the people who wrong themselves. Surah Anas 10:44. His delay is not injustice. His delay is filled with unseen wisdom. Perhaps he is protecting you from arrogance. Perhaps he is softening your heart before your blessings arrive. Perhaps he is holding back a gift until you learn to appreciate the smaller ones you already have. Or maybe he is preparing the blessing itself to arrive in a way you never imagined. And during that delay, something happens. You turn to him more, you make more du'a, you cry more, you pray more. You become closer to Allah in the waiting than you ever were in the receiving. And sometimes that closeness is the real answer to your du'a. Dear brothers and sisters, one of the most powerful principles that Islam teaches us is the balance between effort and trust, the harmony between taking action with everything we have and placing our ultimate reliance on Allah. This is known as Tawakkul. Tawakkul is often misunderstood. Some think it means to do nothing and just wait for things to happen. Others may believe it's all about striving, planning, and controlling every outcome. But true Tawakkul is the beautiful middle path. It is the act of using every means available to you, while your heart remains fully dependent on Allah's plan, not your own, and put your trust in Allah. Indeed, Allah loves those who rely upon Him. Surah Al-Imran 3:159. Notice something profound here. Allah says He loves those who rely on Him, not just that He responds to them or helps them, but that He loves them. That means when you are walking through hardship, unsure of what tomorrow holds, and you say from your heart, "Ya Allah, I've done my part, the rest is in your hands," that moment alone earns you divine love. But this trust must be paired with sincere effort. The Prophet taught us that if you want something, you don't just pray for it, you move toward it, you work, you strive, you knock on every door within your ability. And then you surrender the outcome to the one who controls all doors. There is a well-known hadith that beautifully summarizes this principle. The Prophet said, if you were to rely upon Allah with the reliance He is due, He would provide for you as He provides for the birds. They go out in the morning hungry and return full. He reflect on this. The bird leaves the nest. It doesn't sit still waiting for food to fall from the sky. It takes flight. It searches. It moves. But its heart is not consumed with worry because it knows the provider is always near. This is how we should be. We apply for jobs, we study, we build relationships, we seek help, but our hearts remain calm. Why? Because risk sustenance is not in the hands of people, it is with our Razak, the ultimate provider. Tawakkul means that when things don't go your way, you don't spiral into despair. You remind yourself, I did what I could. And if this wasn't written for me, then there is something better ahead, or I was protected from harm I couldn't see. Remember the story of Messiah alayhi salam again. When he stood at the sea with his people panicking, his response wasn't based on the physical odds, it was rooted in tawakkul. He didn't have a visible solution, he had faith. He said, "Indeed, my Lord is with me, He will guide me." Surah Ash-Shu'ara 26:62, and that trust didn't make him passive. He moved forward, he obeyed the command to strike the sea, and only then did it split. The miracle came after the action, not before it. Look also at Maryam alayhis salam in her moment of labor under the palm tree, completely alone and in pain. Allah did not say, "Wait, and I will drop the fruit into your lap." He told her, "Shake the trunk of the palm tree toward you, it will drop upon you ripe, fresh dates." Surah Maryam 19:25. Imagine the state she was in, exhausted in labor alone. But still, Allah asked her to act, to make an effort. Even if that act seemed small, even if the tree wouldn't normally shake from a woman's touch, He honored her effort and He sent the fruit. This is Tawakkul. Do what you can and leave the rest to Allah. You see, when your trust is in people, you are constantly anxious, will they help me? Will they disappoint me? But when your trust is in Allah, you carry yourself with quiet strength. You do not chase what was never meant for you. You do not fear missing what was written for you. And when things don't go as planned, your heart doesn't collapse because it was never tied to the outcome. It was tied to the one who controls all outcomes. Tawakkul does not mean your life will be easy. It means your heart will remain steady no matter what happens, because you know Allah's plan is better than yours, even when you don't understand it yet. Dear brothers and sisters, there are times in our lives when the burden feels too heavy, when the world grows dark and silent, when our hearts feel empty and our steps slow down. It is in these moments that Shaytan whispers, "You will never get through this. There's no way forward for you. It's over." But Islam teaches us a truth that silences this whisper with power and grace. As long as you are alive, hope is alive. Hope is not a feeling reserved only for the good days. Hope is a choice, especially on the worst days. And when that hope is rooted in Allah, it becomes a source of strength that nothing in this world can shake. Allah says in the Qur'an, "And do not lose hope in the mercy of Allah." Indeed, no one loses hope in Allah's mercy except the people who disbelieve. Surah Asaf 12:87. This verse wasn't revealed during ease. It was spoken by Yaqub alayhi salam, who had lost his son Asaf years earlier, and still, he told his other sons, "Go out and search. Don't give up. Mercy is coming." Even when the situation looked impossible, he held on to hope because he knew that with Allah, nothing is impossible. Hope in Islam is not blind optimism, it is not wishful thinking. It is built on the certainty of Allah's mercy, the reality of His power, and the truth of His promises. When Allah says, "Verily with hardship comes ease," Surah Ash-Shar 94:6, He didn't say after hardship, but with it. That means the relief is already on its way, sometimes before you even feel it. That means your pain is not wasted, your sleepless nights are not meaningless. There is something growing inside of you, a deeper faith, a greater strength, a new version of yourself that only this trial could shape. Resilience is the fruit of hope. It is what happens when you refuse to give up, not because life is easy, but because your heart is connected to Allah. It is when you wake up after a breakdown and still turn to the prayer mat. It is when you cry and still raise your hands in Duʿā. It is when the door is shut and you knock again and again and again, not out of desperation for the door, but out of confidence in the one who controls it. Look at the Prophet during the most painful year of his life, the Al-Hazn, the year of sorrow. He lost his beloved wife Khadijah. He lost his uncle Abu, his protection in Makkah. He went to If seeking support, and instead was mocked and stoned until his blessed body bled. If there was ever a moment to lose hope, it was then. But what did he do? He turned to his Lord with a du'a that still echoes in our hearts today. "O Allah, I complain to you of my weakness, my limited ability, and my lowliness before the people." Even in heartbreak, he didn't stop. He kept walking, he kept hoping, and soon after came the miraculous journey of Al-Isra wal Maraj, where he was honored in a way no human being had ever been honored before. That moment of divine nearness came after a period of deep pain, showing us that sometimes the most beautiful gifts come after the deepest wounds. Dear listener, maybe you feel like your life is stuck in one long chapter of pain. Maybe you think your story won't change, but the same Lord who turned the grief of Asaf into honor, the despair of Hajar into the well of Zamzam, the fear of Masay into a sea split in two, is your Lord too. His power did not fade, His mercy did not run out, His promises did not expire, so rise again, even if slowly, even if trembling. You don't need to have it all figured out, just keep moving even with broken steps. Let your tears be your wad, let your sigh be your Dhikr, let your Du'a be your weapon. You were not created to break, you were created to bend, to fall, to cry, and then to stand again. Your scars are not signs of failure. They are signs of survival, and survival with faith is victory. Dear brothers and sisters, it's one thing to be reminded that Allah sees your pain, hears your cry, and responds with mercy and wisdom. But many people, even after finding hope, ask a very real and human question. What should I actually do while I wait? How do I cope with the pain, the delay, the uncertainty? The beauty of our faith is that it does not leave us in theory or just emotion. Islam gives us actionable guidance step by step spiritual tools that empower us to walk through hardship with dignity, faith, and clarity. These practical steps are not just acts of worship. They are anchors for the heart, oxygen for the soul, and fuel for resilience. Let's explore a few of these precious steps that every struggling heart can take even with limited strength. 1. Du'a. Speak to the one who already knows. Never underestimate the power of sincere du'a. Even if you feel numb, even if you can't find fancy words, even if all you can say is, Ya Allah, help me. The Prophet said, du'a is the essence of worship. Termid, it is not a ritual, it's a lifeline. Pour your heart out to Allah in your language, in your silence, in your tears. Keep a personal du'a list. Wake up in the last third of the night, even if just for a few minutes, and talk to Him. Ask Him for ease, for clarity, for strength, for healing. Nothing is too big or too small. And remember, every time you raise your hands, the doors of the heavens open even if you don't feel it yet. 2. Allah, the place where souls are repaired. Allah is not just a duty, it is a sanctuary. It is where broken hearts go to mend, and where tired souls find calm. Establish prayer for my remembrance. Surah 20:14. Even if your prayers feel rushed, even if you cry and sujud and don't know what to say, that is still valid worship. That is still a connection. Sometimes you don't need more words, you just need more sujud. The ground doesn't judge you. Allah doesn't need perfection, He needs your sincerity. 3. Dhikr. Let your tongue heal your heart. Remembering Allah is not just a spiritual habit, it is a spiritual medicine. The Prophet taught us that the most beloved words to Allah are Sabr, Allah, glory be to Allah, Alam, Du Lillah, all praise is due to Allah, La ilaha illa Allah, there is no God but Allah, Allah, Hu Akbar, Allah is the greatest. Say these often in the car, while walking, while lying in bed, while doing chores. They're light on the tongue but heavy on the scale. With each repetition, they clean the heart of anxiety, doubt, and despair. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. Surah Rad 13:28-4. Quran. Let Allah speak to you, you speak to Allah through du'a. But the Quran is how Allah speaks to you. Open it regularly, even if just a few lines. Don't just recite, read with meaning. The Quran is not just for reward, it is for healing, guidance, and light. And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers. Surah Al-Isra 17:82. If you find a verse that speaks to your situation, hold on to it, write it, reflect on it. Let it guide your mindset, your decisions, your response to hardship. 5. Adaka. Ease your pain by easing others. One of the most beautiful paradoxes of Islam is this: when you're hurting, one of the best ways to feel better is to help someone else. The Prophet said, charity extinguishes sin just as water extinguishes fire. Termid. He gives something even if it's small, a meal, a kind word, a secret donation, a warm smile. Helping others does not mean you're ignoring your pain, it means you're using your pain to connect with others, and that connection is healing. 6. Community. Don't suffer alone. Shaytan loves to isolate you. He whispers, no one understands, don't bother anyone, just stay silent. But silence can become a prison. Islam is a faith of ummah, a faith of community. Seek righteous company. Speak to someone you trust. Pray in congregation, attend a class. Surround yourself with people who remind you of Allah, who listen with mercy, and who gently guide you forward. Even a brief conversation with someone who cares can reignite a light inside you that was starting to fade. 7. Gratitude. Shift your lens when everything feels like it's going wrong. Pause and practice shukr gratitude. List 3 things you're thankful for every morning: your eyesight, a warm bed, clean water, a loved one, the ability to breathe without pain. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, it gives it perspective. It says, yes, I'm hurting, but I'm still blessed. If you are grateful, I will surely increase you. Surah Ibrahim 14:7. Sometimes the increase is not material, it's an increase in peace, in clarity, in emotional stability. 8. Routine. Build small acts of discipline. Patience is not just a feeling, it's a habit. Build a routine that supports your spiritual health. Wake up for Fajr and sit with the Qur'an. Set a Duʿā reminder on your phone. Write down your reflections. Build a daily rhythm of remembrance and prayer that holds you steady when emotions try to pull you off course. Small, consistent actions become the rope that holds you close to Allah, especially when the heart is tired.